Okay, so I tried to remind you of a few things to start, because I know it's been a few days, so we can barely remember stuff from day to day at this point of our schedule. But just as a reminder, when we say SOHCAHTOA, that actually represents 3 equations, so I asked what are they? So just as a reminder, when I say SOH for so, that means that sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. This was a new marker. This is a faulty bunch. So just remember when we do say SOHCAHTOA, we actually use it quite a bit. And we use it because it gives us equations. This is my last one. Okay. So that's our first equation. Ha means that cosine of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And TOA is that tangent is opposite over adjacent. So when I say write an equation, it's just one of those. So we're hopefully pretty comfortable with SOHCAHTOA at this point. I feel like we say it all the time. But I feel like sometimes we just need a reminder that does represent an equation. So when we get to the point when it says write an equation, you just refer to one of those. Oh, buddy, did you get our worksheet?
Yes, definitely. Adam, did you?
They're up with, yep, Adam just got his.
Sorry, I'm very tired.
How are you?
Remember, 8 o'clock.
Oh.
8 o'clock.
Hey, there you go.
Sorry, my bad. I was like,
No, whatever.
very
So-
sorry.
Number 1 is review. So how to solve a triangle when given an angle and a side. So basically, I'm always going to give you these steps because I know they're hard to remember, so I feel ya. So I will try to kind of guide you through the problem as we're doing them, and even on an assessment, I will try to do the same. So from the given angle, so I just go and find the given angle. I like to label everything. You can kind of do what makes sense for you. This is opposite. This is adjacent. And once again, this is across from the 90, so this is hypotenuse. So if I label first, I just kind of set myself up. So what side do you know? I can look and say, well, I only know this side.
Opposite.
And if I labeled it, it's pretty easy, that's opposite. What side do you need? I'm gonna find that x first, so I need hypotenuse. And I just think to myself, okay, what trig function? Opposite and hypotenuse are sine, right? So I just remind myself, oh, I'm using so. So I'm using sine. So the first few steps are labeling. Once again, when we eventually have an assessment, I will give throw all the steps out there for you. And you get credit for just doing that stuff. So just do it to the best of your ability. Make sure you label first, and hopefully it's not too bad. But when I do say write an equation to solve for x, we don't like have a heart attack. We just remind ourselves, oh, since I picked opposite and hypotenuse was sine, and I think about so, that's the equation I'm using. So sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm just gonna throw in what I know. Sine of my angle is 36 degrees equals, once again, if everything's labeled, it makes life a little bit easier. Opposite is 11, hypotenuse is x. All right, so that's not that bad, hopefully. I am gonna solve, I do have to do kind of 2 steps to solve it. Remember, you multiply by what's in the denominator, so I'm gonna multiply by x. I end up with this. And then I want x by itself now, that is out of the fraction, so I'm gonna divide by sine of 36. And this is what I'm gonna kind of throw into my calculator. If anyone needs to borrow one, there's some up here. So I'm gonna grab mine. So we're gonna throw in 11 divided by sine of 36. That's a terrible noise. I got 18.7. So we just found this. I like to kind of throw it in my triangle as I'm going, so I can see what I have. We have 2 more steps underneath, so I'll just kind of do them over here, so I don't have to erase everything. So part E says find the third side of the triangle using the Pythagorean theorem. So we remember back to good old a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If you want a label, so if this is angle A, God bless you, that means side A, we don't know, so that's what I need to find. If this is angle B, we go across, that's side B. And angle C means that's side C. So I'm just gonna throw in what I know. I don't know A, but I do know B and C. I do have to do a little bit of just solving. So I'm gonna subtract 11 squared, God bless ya.
They're allergic reaction to that, you know.
Oh man, you're gonna be okay. So I'm just throwing that in my calculator. It comes out to like, around it, 228.69. And then I'm gonna take the square root. So steps, once again, we know how to do, but hopefully when we break them down, it makes it a little bit more manageable, rather than trying to do kind of everything at once. But that gives me A. Okay, so I have all the sides, so I'm feeling pretty good there. There's only one last thing that I need, and that's that last angle. So for the last step, it just says find the third angle, reminding you that all of our angles add to 180. So we're just gonna do 180 minus, I know one of the angles is 90 degrees because it is a right triangle, and I know the other is 36. So 180 minus 90 minus 36. It's gonna give me my final angle of 54 degrees. And then, my friends, I am done. So as we're going, depending on the problem, you might not have to do all of those steps, but that's kind of the complete if you are solving for the entire triangle. Sometimes I might just ask you to solve for like a side or an angle. That will make it a little bit easier. But that is what we were going over before our little break. So I'll leave that up for a minute or two. I will show you the new stuff we're doing today. The new stuff I find has less steps, so that's kind of nice. So I will show you how that works. And we will go from there. I'll give you a second in case you're still writing it. And just as a heads up, if you are in any clubs, they are starting again, so that's exciting. There's art club, best buddies, drama club, science olympiad, debate team, future educators club, GSA, math team, newspaper club, peer leaders, photo club, rainwater, school climate, step club, student council, students against destructive decisions. What else we got? TJ squared, yearbook, and then senior class, like your advisors. So if you are interested in joining any of those, I can give you the info. I was too lazy to print it, but always good to be involved, especially the last year. Okay, so I'm going to show you the new problem for the day. Nothing too crazy. Once again, I kind of like it a little better than this problem. This one tends to have a lot of steps to it. This one, you can see we're just kind of starting off slow and we'll add steps as we go. Our main goal is we just have different information, so what the heck do we do with it? We'll go from there. Oh my gosh, sorry. Right in on that one. Okay, so just like with the other one, we'll kind of start more basic and then we'll work our way up to kind of solving the whole thing. But we have different information because before we were always given an angle and then given one side. In this case, we're just given two sides. So we're saying, well, what the heck do I do now? So basically what we need to do is find this angle or find an angle. It doesn't really matter which one, but I'm going to start finding this one. We start the same way. From the angle you need, label what two sides do you know. So I like to label everything, I'm just a labeler. So this is opposite. This is adjacent. Once again, this is across from the 90, so that's hypotenuse. So if I label that, and this is start, what two sides do you know? I can see that right away. I know opposite and adjacent. So in this case, I'm gonna know two things, whereas before I always kind of knew just one. What trig function should you use? So you just look up and you say, oh, opposite and adjacent. I should be thinking to myself TOA, right, because that is opposite and adjacent. So I'm gonna use tangent. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Set up an equation. Hello, we just talked about equations. We said that anytime we were talking about TOA, we would write tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now let's plug in what we know. So you just have to write tangent of theta because you don't know what the angle is. Equals, everything's labeled, so I can see it would be 10 over 16. I did give a little hint. Remember, since you are solving for an angle, we did this with our calculators, you need to use an inverse. So anytime you're trying to solve for theta, to find theta, you're going to do the inverse tangent, that's the one that looks like kind of tans a little -1, of, in this case, we're gonna do 10 over 16. So we don't have to worry about reducing that or doing anything fancy, the calculator will do it for us. So I just grab my calculator. Just make sure when you do your inverse, I always hit the second, make sure that little -1 pops up. I'm gonna do 10 over 16. And it's going to give me a nice, delightful answer. It comes out to 32.00 something, so I'm just gonna round it to 32 degrees. And for that one, we'll be done. Okay, so that wasn't too terrible. So main goal, we're all about the labeling in this section. Opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, what do you have? So you should have two sides. You're picking a trig function. You're throwing it in that equation. The big thing is since you're finding an angle, you just need to use the inverse as you're solving. And that's that. So that's the new step we're doing. So all I'm gonna make you do right now, and then we'll kind of, since there's only a few of us here, we will leave the other ones for tomorrow. For number 3, can you just tell me what two sides do you know? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse from the angle. So always look for where theta is labeled. So from that angle, what do I know? Can you pick a trig function? And then can you just do your best? If I asked you to set up an equation, would you be able to do something? So I'll give you a minute. Can you just attempt it? Gives me a better idea if you know what you're doing. We'll go over it in a second. And then we'll leave the other ones for tomorrow since so many people are absent. I'm actually gonna do attendance, let's get some trying that.
Yeah, I looked for that.
Yep, go ahead. Just go ahead. What a day. So we'll go over that in another maybe minute. If nothing else, you're just attempting it. Because it's Monday, and it's before 8. Attempt. Excuse me, present. Corey. All right, let's go over that one quick and then we'll kind of wrap it. We'll wrap it a little early today. And then we'll finish the other ones tomorrow, maybe do a little more practice and be on our little way here. So what 2 sides do I know? I like to label everything first, no matter what the problem. So always just find what you're labeling, where you're labeling from. So I'm labeling from theta. This is opposite. This is adjacent. And remember, across from the 90 is hypotenuse. So when I look, I know opposite and hypotenuse. So when I think about opposite and hypotenuse, I think about, right, that would be good. So I'm going to use sine. Okay, so that wasn't too bad, just a lot of labeling. So set up an equation. So I just think about what so represents. It represents the equation sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of theta is going to equal 14 over 16. Okay, so that wasn't bad to set up. And it's nice because with the other one, you have to kind of solve for an x. In this case, we have everything we need. We just need to remember, since I'm solving for theta, you have to do the inverse sine of 14 over 16. And that will give you that theta is equal to, I don't know what the answer is, so let me grab my calculator. I'm just gonna say 61, it's like 61.04. 61. No, here. So the other steps we'll add tomorrow, once again, are things that we'll know how to do. One is just using Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. We've done that before. And then once you have the first angle, you can find the second by subtracting from 180. So we'll kind of add some stuff on, but I just wanted to keep it basic the first day, especially the first day after like a 5-day weekend. So I feel it. So that's the main idea of what we're doing tomorrow as well. You guys will have some practice with it over the week or the end of the week. And then I don't know. I'm gonna just throw it out there. We'll probably be having an in-class assessment before Christmas. So keep your stuff organized. It's not gonna be like crazy long. But people, when we have the at-home ones, either tend to magically have the same answers as other people, or a lot of people just don't do it. It's precious when you get a 0 on your assessments. That's not recommended.